Hey guys, come on, shut up.
Sorry, champ. It was Jerry.
The whole inside prison Mike Tyson story I am going to tell you now is more entertaining than any Netflix show you can imagine. Mike had some things to tie up before he went back for sentencing. He was convinced he was going to prison, so he called Natalie, the mother of his son D'Amato, and said to her, "Listen, I'm going to send you $100,000 now. Then when I'm in there, I'll have them send you something every month." As soon as she got that money, she got a lawyer and sued Mike for millions, which was great because years later, as the case progressed, Mike's lawyer had the court order a paternity test, and it turned out that the kid wasn't even his. When I first heard this, I was in shock. That stuff like this could also happen to a guy like Iron Mike. Mike wrote in his book, "I deserved that. That's what happens when you fuck with hoes." It was another harsh betrayal. Mike was crushed when that first test came back. He really thought the kid was his. Mike had spent a lot of time with him and even proudly posed with him on the cover of Jet magazine. That woman tormented and stalked Mike for years after that paternity test. Honestly, I don't think anything good will ever come out of her life. After Mike was sentenced and processed, they sent him to the Indiana Youth Center. It was a medium-level security prison that had been designed in the 1960s for rich, white, non-violent youthful offenders. By 1992, the Indiana prison system was so overcrowded that they began sending adult offenders there, mostly people convicted of sex and drug crimes who were too weak to handle the really tough prisons. But as time went on, they began sending some murderers and other violent offenders there too. When Mike arrived, there were about 1,500 prisoners, over 95% of them white. They assigned him to the M dorm, one of the newer units. Mike was housed in two-man rooms that had reinforced doors and a small window instead of bars. When you walked into the room, there'd be two bunks to your left, a toilet, and a cabinet where you could store stuff to your right. There was also a desk where you could study. The whole room was only 8 by 9 feet. Mike wrote in his book, "At the time, I didn't realize that being in jail was a blessing in disguise. If I had stayed out, God knows what would have happened to me. Being locked up was the first time in my life that I could actually catch my breath and be still. But I don't want it to sound like I instantly gained enlightenment or that I was singing Kumbaya all day. I was angry when I first got put in. I knew that I would be in for at least 3 years. If it had been a white girl, I would have been in for 300 years. The first few weeks Mike was in jail, he was just waiting for someone to try him, to mistake him for weak. He couldn't wait to prove to those psychopaths that he was just as homicidal as they were, if not more so. He had to let all of them animals know not to ever go near his cell or touch his stuff. He was aggressive and ready to go to war. One day, shortly after he got there, Mike was walking around when one guy yelled at him, "Hey, Tyson, you fucking tree jumper." Mike had no idea what he was talking about. He thought it was a compliment, that he was some great athlete who could perform amazing acts of physical prowess, even jump over trees. But then Mike asked someone, "A tree jumper is a rapist, Mike," the guy told him. "You know, a guy who waits behind a tree for a little kid to walk by and then jumps out and grabs them." "Oh, Christ," Mike said. While Mike was getting acclimated to prison, there was controversy on the outside. Most opinion polls found that a large number of people were questioning his verdict, even ones that polled mostly women. A vast majority of black people thought that he didn't receive a fair trial. Even one of his jurors told a reporter that none of the black jurors in the jury pool wanted to touch Mike's case because they were scared. Every day, Mike talked to Don on the phone, and he assured Mike that he was working on getting him out immediately. So you can imagine how Mike felt when, on March 31st, 6 days after he went to jail, a judge denied his appeal bond. He immediately stopped eating any solid food and just drank liquids. Then he started getting write-ups. He was disciplined for giving his autograph to a couple of inmates. He became belligerent and got infractions for threatening guards and other inmates. He got into a scrap with a big, young, light-skinned black guy named Bob. They were fooling around, but then it got serious. Mike put a big knot on the top of his head. One of the other inmates named Wayno came over and told Mike to chill out. "You've got nothing to prove to these dudes." Wayno told Mike, "These guys are going to be here for a long time, but you're trying to go home, brother." He was right. Fortunately for Mike, when the guard came over, Bob didn't give him up. He said that he had tripped. That could have earned Mike another few months in jail. It was hard to maintain his humanity in a place like that. He saw things that he couldn't understand one human being doing to another. He watched people get cut fighting over a cigarette. Somebody might throw some gasoline in another man's cell and try to light it and burn him up. Or somebody would grab a lady guard and throw her in the bathroom and rape her. Mike saw guards run out with half their heads sliced open with a razor, or because someone beat them with a stapler. The people doing that shit didn't care. They were facing 40, 50, 100 years already. They couldn't give them any more time than they already had. So you'd be walking a tightrope messing with these borderline sociopaths. These people needed to be in hospitals more than prisons. Mike was very paranoid the first few months there. He thought that somebody, either an inmate or a guard, was going to set him up and put some dope in his room or provoke him to hit them so he'd get more time tacked on to his sentence. Mike just wanted to survive. So he'd stay in his room all the time. He didn't want to see anybody. One time, Mike got into a shouting match with a white racist guard, and all the other inmates started jumping in, trying to get involved. The Aryan supremacists from another quad came rushing over because they thought one of their boys was involved. So the guard called out a whole goon squad, and there was total chaos. People were yelling, "Fuck him up, Mike! Kill that fucking pig!" It was a real riot. They had to lock the dorm down, and they shipped Mike down to the hole. The hole was a trip. They threw Mike in a 6-foot by 9-foot room with just a mattress on the floor and a toilet. During the day, they would remove the mattress and make him sleep on the concrete floor because they didn't want him to be comfortable. It was pretty inhumane to be in a room 23 hours a day with the light always on, but you get used to it. You become your own best company. In a weird way, you get your freedom in the hole. Nobody was controlling your every move like they did in the general population. The hole was the worst situation you could be in. And that became Mike's element. He was such a troublemaker in his first year in prison. He kept getting written up for not moving fast enough, being rude, threatening the guards, and pushing people. He was being so disruptive that they almost sent him to the P dorm. That's where they sent all the really dangerous inmates who didn't want to work or follow orders. They were segregated from the rest of the prison population. Mike was thinking that he was one of those crazy motherfuckers, so he began acting like them. They'd be locked in a room all day, and the guards would watch them constantly. Phew, F that, the P dorm guys would yell at the guards. They had screens on the windows, and when Mike walked by, they'd yell at him too. "Hey, champ, chill out, champ. I hear you're getting wild out there. You don't want to come over here, champ. You don't want to fuck with us," they'd yell. Mike chilled out after that. He didn't want to be living like some animal. It got so bad that they actually took the screens off the P dorm and put up solid glass so they couldn't spit on the people walking by. But Mike settled for the hole. Why not? He grew up in places where it smelled like raw sewage. He came from a cesspool. It took Mike about 13 months to figure out the right way to do his time. His whole first year was hell, getting months and months added to his sentence. He was suspicious of everyone there. They had put him in a cell with a guy named Earl, who was a model prisoner. Earl was in there for 30 years for selling drugs, which meant that he had to do at least 15 years. The administration thought that he would be the best guy to mentor Mike and keep him out of trouble. The first night that they were together, Mike took a pencil and held it menacingly. "I'll kill you if you touch my shit." "Better nothing be missing," Mike said, "and I'm not cleaning no room. Just don't talk to me." Earl just looked at Mike. "What's wrong with you, man?" "Yo, Mike, I'm not that guy," he said. "I'm with you, brother. I'm here to help you. Don't get caught up in that bullshit. It's just going to get you a hole full of extra time. I knew guys who came here with a year, 3 years, and they wound up doing life for the same bullshit. You just don't know how to move yet, young brother. I need me to teach you how to move, and it's going to be easy sailing from here on in." Little by little, Earl schooled Mike. It took Mike some time to realize it, but Earl was awesome. They'd walk around the dorm and Earl would point things out. Stay away from these over there, Mike, and don't ever talk to those cops there. Don't even say good morning to them. Just keep your mouth shut at all times, Mike. Listen, if you see me sucking somebody's or making love with someone, don't be surprised. I would never do that. But if you saw it, don't be surprised. Don't ever be surprised at anything you see here. All right? And don't comment on nothing. Just keep your mouth shut. If you see a bunch of men stabbing someone, just keep moving. Don't look at them. Don't let them see you look at them. Whatever you see here, you don't see. Somebody's giving backshot someone. Just mind your business. Don't make no jokes or comments about it because that's his wife. Just like if you disrespect somebody's wife in the street, they're going to kick your ass. It's the same if you disrespect their wife in here. He was right. You couldn't apply your outside standards to what was going on in there. You think about homosexuality in the outside world, and you might think of a meek person who could easily be taken advantage of. But these people were warriors. They'd kill you in a second. You'd see two big, strong guys walking in the yard, holding hands. You respected those people because if you didn't, you'd have a very serious problem. In prison, anybody is capable of murder. It doesn't matter how big or small they are. After a while in prison, Mike began to see the humanity in everyone, even the racist guards. Mike don't care if it's black gang members, Nazis, Mexican gangbangers. You started to get familiar with them when they told you that someone in their family died or that they had problems with their wife. Once Mike really saw how the system worked, he began to manipulate things to his advantage. This inmate named Buck helped Mike in that process. Buck was a lifer from Detroit who had done about 15 years. Mike used to get a ton of letters a day from people all over the world. One day, Buck was in Mike's room reading through some letters. Mike, I can tell that you don't know how to read your letters, he said. What do you mean? Mike said, I can read. You can read, but you don't know how to subliminally read. There are messages here. People don't want to hurt your feelings because you're a famous fighter and they think you have lots of money, but they're using words that you're not aware of because you haven't been to school a lot, Mike, he said. Buck was telling Mike this shit, but it wasn't offensive. Look, this one broad says, if there's ever anything you need, anything that I could do, please let me know. See, that doesn't mean if I could do anything for you. That means I want to do something for you, you just need to tell me. Or take this other letter. I would love to get to know you and cultivate a relationship with you as human beings. Listen, that means that she wants to elevate your status in life, your health, and well-being. That means if you need anything, she would help you out. We are in a unique situation here, Mike. We're on the edge of making a lot of money. Times aren't so good for you. Now, if you spend a ton of money on lawyers, you'll probably have to spend a ton more on that woman who's suing you. You need commissary money. How are you going to eat well? You can't eat this food in the cafeteria. You're right, I do need commissary money, Mike agreed. So Mike went with Buck. He started taking Mike's letters and writing replies to these people, and the money started flowing in. They were getting cash, they were getting jewelry, there was foreign currency coming, they started drowning in money. So that was it for this video. There's still so much to the story. If this video performs well, then I will surely make part 2. Thanks for watching this video.